And this is Citi TV. Welcome. My name is Vivian Kai. Look, you are watching us live from our Tesano studios here in the Greater Accra region. We are bringing you the Oxfam Tax Dialogue. Now, over the weeks, we've been bringing you different topics around tax because tax is key in our discussions every now and then because it affects every one of us, whether you're a business, because it's going to affect your revenue, whether you're the GRA itself, which is the one in charge of dealing with our tax as a country, it will affect your revenue. Now, if you're a consumer, tax will affect you as well. Whether it's government getting enough money to get you that road that you want fixed in front of your house, or is buying that product which has VAT slapped on it. So today our discussion will look at everything, but our topic is whether our tax regime is fit for purpose as a country. When I come back, I'll introduce to you our panel who are well vexed in the issue of tax because it affects them one way or the other. And of course, we have the Ghana Revenue Authority itself here with us to have this discussion. And I have another surprise guest with us. I'll let you know who they are as well. And of course, introduce our numbers and how you can be part of this discussion. So get ready to send us your questions or your comments. We'll be right back. So welcome back to the Oxfam Tax Dialogue. Thank you so much for making time to join us. Now you can be part of this conversation. You can send us a WhatsApp message or you can send us a message via social media, Twitter or Facebook. Just remember to add the hashtag Oxfam Tax Dialogue. If you want to send us a message, you can also send it via 0233 24 447-033. I'll take the number again. It's 444-7033. 0204-444-7033. We'll have that on the screens pretty shortly. But let me introduce my guests for today who will help us with the discussions, who will answer your questions as well. We have with us John Awuni. He's the Executive Chairman for the Food and Beverages Association of Ghana, popularly known as FABAC. John, welcome to the Oxford Tax Dialogue.
Thank you very much.
And then we also have with us Dr. Angela Azumalu. She's the Fiscal Policy Advisor for Oxfam here in Ghana. Doc, welcome. We also have with us Madame Emilia Assam. She's the Assistant Commissioner for the GRA. Welcome, Madame.
Thank you.
Then we have with us Madame Jennifer A. Moffat. She's the Acting Country Lead, Head of Programs for Budget Ghana. Welcome.
Hello.
And of course, the last but not the least is Mr. Jeffrey Okanse, is with the Revenue Mobilization Africa. This is a CSO, I believe.
Yeah.
Welcome, Jeffrey.
Thanks for having me.
So, gentlemen and ladies, welcome again to the show. Let me also announce that we have an audience. They are students from the Ghana Communication Technology University. At a point in time, I'll show to you their beautiful faces and they'll also be asking questions as well. But they say he who feels it knows it best. So I'm going to start with John because they are, in business and we hear a lot of the businesses complain every now and then the amount of taxes they have to deal with while struggling to make ends meet, as entities. So I'm going to start with John and ask him your current thoughts in general, your on the tax regime we have as a country, looking at it from the business angle.
Thank you very much, and good morning to viewers. Generally, to assess the tax regime or to give a verdict of the current tax regime in Ghana, we have to look at the purpose, the general purpose of taxation. Okay. And generally, you look at the fact that taxes have three focus. One is the fiscal objective. Mm-hmm. You have a regulatory objective and a stimulating objective. So if you look at the framework of the fiscal objective, you are looking at the fact that you want that you are instituting certain levies and general taxes and all that to raise revenue for the development of the country, provision of infrastructure, the water, the electricity, the hospitals, and all that. So that is why that the tax is instituted. The second framework of the taxation is to regulate. And it's a sense that you want to ensure that you want to institute a certain level of tax to redistribute income, reduce inequality in the system. Yeah. You also want to ensure that they don't have to consume certain goods like well, in some countries have sin tax
and to discourage
from certain consumption of the certain tax,
tobacco,
alcohol, and all that. So to regulate, and then the last leg of the taxation is to stimulate, in the sense that you are looking at the fact that you want to encourage a certain level of production in the system. So in our country, for instance, you're looking at a taxation that will have to stimulate growth. And macroeconomics, in fact, growth is the major objective. It should be the major objective. Particularly, we talk about the private sector is the engine of growth. So if the private sector is the engine of growth, your taxes should be, and it should be situated in a situation where it can stimulate the growth in the private sector.
That's right.
Exactly. So looking at this broad framework, we can now assess to talk about whether the private sector, where I am coming from, is it doing well? Last year or 2 years back, we had the manufacturing sector growing at a negative rate. We are still largely an agrarian society providing just raw material. We are not able to industrialize. Almost all the necessary materials, raw materials we have in this country, most of them are extracted, sent abroad, processed, and then brought back.
So the value addition is still at the low level?
At the low level. If you look at the level of unemployment in the country, it speaks volumes of the lack of performance or the poor performance in the private sector. The government is the biggest spender in every economy, but the private sector is also the biggest employer, supposed to be the biggest employer. So if you have this large pool of unemployment at threatening levels, sometimes you wonder why you send your child to school. Because at the end of the day, the school fees you are paying and all that, when they come out, where do they get a job?
So as businesses,
I have companies where I have one particular company is supposed to employ over 100 staff. Currently, I'm employing only 12.
And you blame that on the taxes you're paying?
You blame that on the tax. The tax is not stimulating. I'm just on that it's not stimulating enough.
Okay.
If you go back to the issue of the first leg, the fiscal policy is supposed to raise revenue, provide the necessary infrastructure, and then all that. My initial thought is that I don't think that the tax is performing its real objective.
The fiscal part, we're not able to meet those targets.
They meet the targets, but the provision of the infrastructure and then all that. We have people receiving drips in this country on benches. We have the government ministers, the presidents themselves. They don't have confidence in our health system. They fly abroad for treatment. Yet, every year, my sister is here, Madam Hassan is here. They keep on announcing they are exceeding targets.
Yes.
They exceed targets. So if you are exceeding targets, and we are not exceeding targets in infrastructure development, we are not exceeding targets in the provision of water, electricity,
security,
and all. What is the essence of that,
Okay,
the whole
so,
taxation.
so John's initial remarks are very interesting. He's grouped the tax, which I'm going to come to you, Jeffrey, in a bit, whether, you know, as a consultant and, you know, in the CEO, SO space, you're in the middle looking at the two sides, whether you agree, but just to put it in context. Now, he believes that if he groups it in these three places, the fiscal, the stimulation, regulation, and all that, we're failing on all these three fronts because as a business, they are not growing. As people, consumers, citizens, we are not really getting the input from government in terms of the revenue generation. And Madam Assam's team, they are going around getting the revenue, meeting their targets. It's not being put to use. Jeffrey, your initial thoughts as well on the tax regime you have and whether you believe these three fields that John has beautifully put them, we are failing to meet the targets for which, before we even get to the end of the show, we are saying it's not fit for purpose, our tax regime. You have the floor.
We have an okay tax regime.
Okay.
Let me be fair. I would be fair in the sense that when you look at the number of tax handles that we have as a country, we have one of the wonderful tax structures. And the problem has been how we go onto the field and apply what we've put on paper.
Okay.
So as a country, if you looked at the number of tax handles, yeah, we are tax sufficient. I don't see us adding more tax handles. The problem has been collection. And when it's been collected, the second phase, when you collect the revenue, tax revenue, you put it in a kitty. That's where you need to properly look at where to put the blame. So she's a collector.
Yeah.
When she collects, she puts it
somewhere
in a bag.
In the fund.
Her duty ends there.
Yeah.
Mind you to say, it's government that applies the resources.
Utilization.
And I'll give you a question that we all have we all have to think about.
Yeah.
Why are people paying tithes and not paying taxes? When we are done with church, at your church.
But the churches are also complaining that the tithes are not coming.
Well,
at least my church.
But
I won't mention the name of the church though.
It's as a result of the total economic downturn.
Yeah.
Totally. I mean, whatever you and I used to buy with 100 cedis, you can't buy today.
That's true.
So the church will have a feel of this.
Yeah.
But when they come in, I'm a Christian, but I'll have a word with them about also paying taxes. So let the churches wait. I also have my feeling about them not paying.
They should start paying the taxes.
They partially pay tax, because
Yeah.
some of the services they offer, they also pay taxes on them.
Yeah.
So we can have that discussion another day.
Point,
but on a quick one, I think we have a fair tax system. My problem with the system is actually let us segregate the roles very well. We are paying, she collects, somebody applies the resources. The problem as we speak right now is people are saying they are not seeing what you are doing with their tax revenue. Okay, when you go onto the ground, he expects to see schools, he expects to see roads, you can't blame him. Perfectly, you have to do that. I think the problem with government systems about taxes has to do with communication, tax communication. Sometimes even before payment, people don't even know what they have to pay, how they have to pay it.
Yeah.
And so they have a wonderful unit they've set up at the GRA. That's the information, that's that. I think they do something around information and communication, something. And I think that desk is doing well. They can improve their work. You remember when we were in primary school, they say more room for improvement. And they've also introduced the relationship officers. That's also very good of them. I follow their activities very well.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we all have to look at what they are doing and what the gaps are as a country when it comes to taxes. We don't need to add more. We need to go and collect.
But don't we have too much?
Well,
aren't we overtaxed? Maybe not individuals, but businesses. Aren't they overtaxed?
You know why the problem is there like that one? The whole problem is that over 70% of the people supposed to be paying taxes are in the informal sector. As we speak, in that sector, less than 10% of the people supposed to pay taxes are paying.
Are not, but is that the fault of the formal businesses? Because now we are throwing all the tax to them, overflogging them, and struggling to get the informal sector, in the tax net, which is something we've been preaching for years since I started business.
Well, you ask yourself,
coverage.
For years, and for years, the politicians, the elite, for years, they own the properties that you have to charge the rent taxes
for the
on.
property tax, yeah.
For years, when it comes to the issues about property rates, for years, we are wanting to sit down and then expect that maybe the building at Osu will be charged, let's say, 100 cedis, and then we don't look at the East Legon one going to around 3,000, 5,000.
That's true.
These are huge facilities that have a lot of monies in there. So you see, if the GRA had gone all out to collect all the rent taxes, all the property rates, then your issue would be relaxed. You see, when you collect to the fullest, more people paying. It's about expanding the tax net, not having to bring more taxes on board. So if you really look at the handles we have,
John, I'll come to you in a minute.
that's what I call the sufficiency.
Yeah.
We are tax sufficient, so there's no need adding more. But while applying that one, expand it to catch up to everybody. Look at the night and dawn economy. Some people are in the night and dawn economy and they are thriving.
Yes.
You cannot call it tax evasion.
Yes.
I sometimes find it difficult calling it even tax avoidance. Look, since I was born at Osu here, madam, Osu night market has always been there.
Yeah.
Are you taxing them? Are you taking your money? Now Circle is here for today.
Yeah.
La Paz, they are there.
Accra Mall.
They do business in the evening.
Yeah.
And by 5 o'clock, my good people have closed.
Yes.
Are we going to run a system where they will have to catch up with them? Now let me end with the night and dawn economy. I've been saying this from 2019. Let me tell you what. I've done my surveys with some of the markets. The Domi market, the Malata market, the Medina market. The women who go out there and bring the food wares, truck loads. We're not talking about 10,000 and 20,000.
Yes.
That's about 60, 70,000 load of goods. They bring it at dawn. They get to Accra around 3 a.m.
That's right.
It is not a plan, but the roads must be free for them to catch their goods. You know what we call the Aboso Kambu, right?
Yeah.
That small car.
That small one, yeah.
In about 2 hours, they are done cutting the goods from the big truck. And they finish business. Please, respectfully, how are they to wait for somebody to come and take their taxes?
Take their tax, yeah.
All you have to do, provide security for them, provide the tax collectors for them, and then ensure that when they come with the goods, you take them from them. Go to the construction industry. The T&J people, one carpenter can take a contract here, roof one big building, get about 40 to 60,000 cedis. He can have 3 of such contracts in just about a matter of 3 months. He would be making about 120, 150, or 200,000 cedis. Well, if you are not there to collect it, how do you do that? They will be asking Jeffrey. I'll tell them today, what you have to do is that people come for building permits. So right at the assembly end, let everybody who's going to be on that contract project be on a particular form so that every artisan will be recorded there. And then the Ghana card has made things simplified. So when they are on, when you start the project, when I come to the site, I should see that document that proves from mason down to paint, even painters who have not even started their work. I should see everybody on it that you have interviewed and you want to give them the contract, or you have already awarded the contracts. At the end of a project, I want to see what you have paid to me for their work they did. How can somebody who is painting a whole huge building, making about 60,000 cedis, 30,000 cedis, 40,000 cedis, go off, and then somebody who is actually a casual worker at a ministry or somewhere in the public space with 1,000 cedis or low be paying taxes? That's where the problem is. The problem is you're not collecting it. Go and collect. They have difficulties. I share the difficulties with them. But the truth is that until we have equipped them fully, where we have done most of the job, at least they have offices. Madam, I've been seeing
they have a lot of offices.
Yes. But maybe they need some buses.
Okay, well, let's, Madam, speak for herself.
The MPs need the 4x4. I think they also need some very well buses.
Okay.
And you know, the collectors, the arrows. I want to see them. Have you seen an Elster's dress?
Yeah,
you know,
in full regalia, yes.
You know, put some style to it. Get them to go and speak to the people. It is business we are doing here. The banks who are collecting our money, to come and even give me interest, they are well dressed, lobbying me, lying to me. I mean, smoothing their language with me. Yeah. And then they want, look, go to the days of the Bible. Do you know why they hate Zacchaeus? Because of taxes. Tax
collection, yeah, that's right.
So the moment you appear, if you don't appear well with soft words, with lobby and a nice tact way of doing it, you're already putting people off already. Especially when sales is down and somebody is selling the same goods that somebody has paid higher amount to get the store. Another person is on the streets selling, escaping the taxes, and also selling it cheaper. So there's a whole mix of issues. But when it comes to our tax systems, we have an okay system. We should make sure that
Okay.
all the systems around it work.
Andrew doesn't agree. Andrew, sorry, John. John doesn't agree. I'll come back to you, John, to respond to Jeffrey's. But let me bring in my beautiful ladies. First of all, we'll take two comments from the two. I'll come to you, give the last, because you have to respond to everybody. On your thoughts, Jeffrey believes it's an okay system. Andrew doesn't believe. I mean, I pay taxes. I don't think we have an okay system, Jeffrey. I think we are overtaxed, you know, as a country. So your initial thoughts about that. And Jeffrey has raised some key points about ways we can, you know, change this whole narrative, especially with the informal sector. And then as an entity, as in the authority, to increase the levels of revenue it's getting. So any of you can go with that.
Okay, so I'm more with Jeffrey,
Okay.
right? That in a sense, our tax regime, definitely, like with everyone, there's always more room for improvement. But I also share his sentiments about the need to, as it were, widen the tax net and then ensure more tax compliance, like across. Mm-hmm. So those would be my initial comments.
Okay. You share the same?
I also agree that we have a good tax system, but my issue is, will always come back to the accountability aspects of it. We have a good tax administration, but what about accounting for the various taxes that we are taking? So if I'm paying tax, I expect to see certain things in the country. Like Mr. Awuni said, I'm expecting to see schools, I'm expecting to see roads, I'm expecting that when I'm driving at night, I don't have to squint, I don't have to keep squinting and be driving slowly because all the cars ahead of me or coming towards me have their highlights on.
Because there are no street lights functioning.
Yes, but I'm paying taxes, whether directly or indirectly. Whether from my employee tax, money is being taken. When I go to any mall to buy something, tax are taken. Even when I buy from the market, indirectly, the goods there are somehow taxed. Because if they come and then they use cars to bring the goods to the market, then you know that the vehicles are paying fuel and there are tax components on it. So definitely, indirectly, I'm paying all that. How is it translating into my life? Okay. That's what citizens will be asking. Right. The reason why we wouldn't want to pay tax is because of this.
Okay, but I really, I'll come to you now because you know it's time to come to you now. But I'm going to take two answers from you. One on John's initial comment, but then you know just yesterday, interestingly enough, the vice president, who is now the candidate for the MPP for the upcoming general election, said that he believes that the GRA, in trying to meet their targets, is harassing the businesses, and the targets are over-ambitious. And so they are overdoing the whole thing. And when he comes, if he should win, he'll start on a clean slate, clean it all, and start all over again. So John's fears are actually backed by not just businesses, but even the politician believes it's what it is.
Thank you very much. GR's main mandate is to assess, collect, and account. And all these monies we collect ends up in the consolidated fund that is used to run the economy. For any business who is operating in Ghana, any entity, any person who is earning income, it's your duty to pay taxes.
That's true.
Sometimes there's a perception that we are collecting a lot because we always achieve our targets.
Yes, you are meeting your targets, you are collecting.
Exceed. Why if we are exceeding, it's more of improving in our strategies of mobilization. So many things have changed over time, but just as some of you said, maybe we are not communicating much for you to know what we are doing. First, GRA is expanding its scope by ensuring that we are not limiting our collection to only the existing taxpayers.
You are not only harassing the likes of John's company.
No, there is no harassment. I'll come to that.
Okay.
There's no harassment with tax collection. For example, when we talk about the night market that Jeffrey mentioned, we have a task force that operates in the night. Who go around? Yes, we do. We go around and we do a lot of monitoring during the day and in the night as well. Now, with the structure that we have for our operations, we have taxpayer service centers whose main mandate is to engage the taxpayers. So we are more customer-oriented, so that we want to get to you, know your problems, help you to file, help you to account. That is why you realize that now we've improved in the way you file your returns by going online, the way you pay in the comfort, from the comfort of your homes. At a click, you can just account for the tax you pay. We, however, admit that we are not getting to everyone. You know, when we look at the informal sector and when we look at our economy with the projections that we have for 2024, we are moving into trillion. And if it is so, then it means that if even 60% of our taxpayers are in the informal sector, and we decide to even tax them at the minimum rate of 3%, that is a lot of money.
Yeah.
That must all come. And for that reason, GRA has developed tax structures for the informal sector. And with the help of the Ghana card, everyone is in our net. In the sense that when you go into our taxpayers portal and register, we have all information concerning you. And we are having linkages with other third-party entities, SNET, electricity, water, DVLA. That is giving us a lot of information. So maybe you might sit and assume that
So for now, the night market people, are you taxed? Are they paying, or you are still doing the monitoring?
We consider, no, it's not just monitoring. When we talk about monitoring, we monitor to identify those who are supposed to be registered and get them registered. Okay. We monitor to ensure that those who are supposed to pay taxes, we assess them to pay. That is why sometimes there's a perception that we are going out there aggressively, but that is not it. You know, it is only a defaulting taxpayer whom we will use aggressive tools, that is into quotes, not aggressive, but enforcement tools, which is part of our work. So if you are expected to issue a VAT invoice and you are not issuing, we will send officers there to monitor. That is the nature of our work. Okay. If you are supposed to pay your taxes and you have not paid, we will come after you and ensure you pay. If you are ready to settle by coming for installment agreements, we are ready to allow that. But we have in our country people who are reluctant to pay. Even when we reach out to them, then it means that we have to use the enforcement tools to reach those people. However, in doing that, we ensure that our interest is your business. Because without your business, we are not there. It's only when you are making the money that we make our taxes. However, we share in their concerns when it comes to the issue of the fact that they sometimes, the populace, including individuals, complain that we are not meeting all the expectations of government. And that is true. The money that we collect, when we look at our GDP to tax ratio, for last year, it was 14.1. And when you go to other places, it's as high as 35%.
That's right.
Even in Africa, we have others which are more than 18, 20%. But we are only collecting 14%. So how much of that can that impact on our economy? So for all of us, we share a common interest to develop our economy, to build our people, to provide the amenities that our people need. Good healthcare, good streets, good roads. So in the absence of taxation, how do we survive it? We have to naturally make sure everyone does what is right. So to all of us, taxes is by statute. If the law is established, we have to collect. And we cannot collect without you being ready to pay. It takes two. You are on one side, we are the other.
I like the way you looked at
Yes.
it. But I have to take a quick break. When I come back, I'll let you respond to the harassment bit, which the Vice President himself has confirmed. And then I'll allow John to make his point on some of the things that have been said. You're watching the Oxfam Tax Dialogue here on Citi TV. You're watching us live from our studios at Tesano here in the Greater Accra region. You can send a message, you can send a comment via the phone number currently on the screen. You can also send it via social media. Just remember to add the hashtag Oxfam Tax Dialogue. My name is Vivian Kailoko. We'll be right back. Don't go away.
The month of March is Heritage Month on Citi FM and Citi TV, and we will be celebrating it in grand style with the theme Imagine Ghana, Discover the Unknown. We will discover the story of our people and customs, places, food, music, and fashion. Stay tuned to Citi TV and Citi FM every weekday to learn Guinean historical facts, heritage, and traditions with the on-air series on Breakfast Daily on Citi TV at 9:30 a.m. and on the biggest conversation on radio, the Citi Breakfast Show on Citi FM at 9 a.m. from the 1st to the 31st of March. The Heritage Month on-air series is proudly sponsored by Miss Cookie Spices. No peeling, no blending, just scoop and cook. Other exciting activities for the Heritage Month 2024 will include the evolution of High Life Music, a High Life Music expose on Citi TV and Citi FM, curated music on brunch in the city on Citi FM, What's Cooking special features on Citi TV, the Heritage Quiz on the Traffic Avenue on Citi FM. Catch the Heritage Caravan Diaries and Moments from the 3rd to the 10th of March on the Heritage Caravan. And the big one to crown the Heritage Month celebration, we will treat ourselves to delectable, authentic Ghanaian cuisine, music, dance, and many more at the Back to Your Village Food Festival from the 30th to the 31st of March 2024. Don't miss all the education, fun, and excitement on the Heritage Month 2024 this March, only on Citi TV and 97.3 Citi FM. The Heritage Month 2024 is powered by Citi TV with support from Citi FM.
So welcome back to the Oxfam Tax Dialogue. Our topic for today is whether Ghana's tax regime is fit for purpose. I have a great panel today who are looking at all the issues, and they're well vexed in them because they are part of the tax industry in terms of where they work and who they are. And of course, we have the Ghana Revenue Authority. We have a rep from businesses, that is Mr. John Awoni. We have a tax consultant, and two other institutions who are also well vexed in the issues. Before we took the break, Madam Emilia was on the floor telling us a bit about what they are doing now to close the gaps and what we think we know and that we don't know. So I'm interested in the ninth market, which you say now they are paying taxes. But I wanted you to directly respond to what the Vice President said, because John initially also agreed that they are being harassed, they're overtaxed and all that. The Vice President has confirmed he's a finance person before taking that position and all that. And I'll take Jeffrey, because I think Jeffrey doesn't agree with that, but we'll come to that. But let me take your response on that.
All right, let me try to explain some of our processes and draw your attention to the fact that no tax officer who has been authorized to go out is expected to harass any client. Yeah. In the sense that we have some compliance issues that we deal with every day. One is every taxpayer must register. Failure to register, we can send you a notification to appear. We can lock up your place if you fail to respond to these notifications. We have duties to issue invoices by those who are registered to pay VAT. Such persons, without being authorized to issue your own invoice, that is accepted by the commissioner. If you fail to do it rightly, we can send officers to your premises to monitor your operations, to confirm whether you are declaring the right taxes. If you have made the declarations, or we have audited your records and you are owing, you are first given 1 month to either object to our assessment or pay. You become a defaulter, and we will have to follow up with our enforcement action. We have persons who might default. We will send a lot of demand notices who will never respond. And our liabilities are escalated from one state to the other. And the ultimate is either to lock up your premises, we'll garnish your accounts, we will prosecute you to ensure that we collect the monies.
But aren't they not responding in most cases because they are really struggling? They are going through too much to even deal with what you are demanding.
When you are struggling, no, the tax system is not in a straitjacket. You know, when you are struggling with payment of your taxes, go to your tax office, apply for time to pay. If it's even not within the mandate of the office manager, it can go as far as to the Commissioner General to be given time to pay. But people just ignore. So when you do that, and it gets to the enforcement stage, then we will use all enforcement tools that are available for you to collect. However, we know that there may be bad nuts. What I will suggest is that anytime you receive someone, first identify the tax officer by his identity. We always wear our tags. Ask for evidence to show that he's coming from the tax office. If the person is not able to produce these, please don't engage him. Go to the nearest tax office and make a report. We are not expected now to come collecting cash from any taxpayer because you are supposed to pay online. So if someone comes to you and makes a demand for cash, please don't. You can pay directly into our GRA accounts, pay through the Ghana.gov. Using *222#, you can pay your taxes. So please, GRA staff do not go out to harass, but in our bid to fulfill our mandate of collecting taxes, we can use enforcement methods.
So how are you going to deal with the harassment narrative around you, where it's even been confirmed by, you know, the Vice President?
I am not, I can't sit here and doubt what he's saying, nor comment on what he said. I will say that anytime anyone has an issue with a tax officer, please report to the nearest tax office, because we know that in our environment, we may find some tax officers, because of the backing they have with the law, they may go out aggressive. Okay. But we are all being trained to be customer friendly, to be supportive, you know, to be fair and exhibit a lot of integrity in our work. So okay. I expect that if a taxpayer believes that he's being harassed, he should walk to his tax office and ensure that we resolve these issues.
John, you have a lot to respond to. Please go ahead.
You see, let me just begin with the harassment bit, and I explain it within the context of harassment.
Okay.
If we say, the business people say that they are being harassed, It's not that people go and then behave, and then tax officers go and behave and behave out of order. That is not what they are talking about. Somebody goes there, give me money, do whatever, not and all that. No. There are various forms of harassment. For instance, my business is not doing well.
Yes.
As my business is not doing well, I'm thinking about how that business will survive. I'm thinking about how I will be able to pay staff.
Yes.
I'm thinking about how I'm able to maintain my fixed cost, whether whatever be the case, I must pay the light bill. If for instance you have a hotel, you must keep on buying chemicals to put in the water to maintain it, so the mosquitoes don't come in there. You have to keep on clean. It's a whole lot of things. Now, beginning of the year, like this time, then the tax office sends you an assessment. You now, before the year has ended, you know that you are run at a loss.
Yeah.
But the tax office sends you an assessment, tells you that, John, your company A, by the end of the year, we assess that you will make a profit of 100,000 cedis. You have to pay, and you have to pay quarterly.
Yeah.
Immediately I get that kind of assessment, I get angry. Because you don't even have an idea about what I'm going through. The tax officer is supposed to be a partner in development. Because without the business, there is no tax office.
Tax to collect.
So they sometimes must have an idea of what the business community is going through. So if you now send me 100,000 cedis, and then I say that, where from this? I can't even make money. So you give the corporate tax, this is the profit, this is the tax you're supposed to pay as a company. Then they also give director's assessment. This is how much tax a director is supposed to pay. And so at the end of the day, if the business person begins to resist, that's when they say, oh no, we said 100,000, you must pay 50,000. So they can come down to 50,000. Even the 50,000, you may not be able to pay. That's where the issue of the harassment comes. Because I see that I'm thinking about survival of my business.
True.
And you are not even thinking about how to get the business to survive
or not.
You are talking about
your money,
and you are giving unreasonable, unreasonable assessment. And there are cases that then, before you can go get a good negotiation rate to pay, then the tax officer who are your agent, whatever not, you will have to pay something behind the scenes to them. That may be, you may say that is unprofessional, but that is...
You have to do that to survive as a business.
You have to do that to survive as a person and say that, listen, this is the way, please take this, and then... there are too many examples. A gentleman met me, gave me an example. Well, they came and then said, I have to pay this and this tax. When I looked at it, they said, that means they are just going to kill my business. So I looked at the person, I went to the office, I gave him 10,000. It's okay, we'll leave you for 2 years. Later on, we'll come. This is reality on the ground. Where you refuse to give where you refuse to give that money, then it becomes what? They will insist, they go full. And then you see that it's a harassment. I want to see a situation where when the business is going through challenge, the tax officer must also be aware. I have situations where some of them had been professional. A branch manager of a tax office goes to a company, sits down in the company, for instance, a restaurant, sits down without even the management knowing, and the whole day gets to understand
the operations.
Go back to back, and gets back to the office and tells them that I don't think that this business will be able to make any profit in the next couple of years. Maybe. So just, I think that whatever is happening there, I have understood it and I realize that this is something very professional, something nice. Yeah. So I'm explaining this with the framework of what? The harassment. Now, when we come back to the issue of talking about the topic and the discussion, that is the tax fit for purpose or not. Now, when you design a system, you want to look at the system. The only way you can see that the system is good or not is the feedback that system will give you. Now, you have a tax system where last year, the Director General of the Ghana Ports and Harbour invited us to a meeting to ask us why we are no more important to do the Tema Port, that the Tema Port has become a ghost city. So why
are you taking it through now?
They are taken through Togo,
The Togo.
and they go through Cote d'Ivoire. The vice president himself acknowledged that, and they are aware about that.
They have a lot to answer to.
Go to the market and take most of the goods. They are French labeled goods. Which goes through which goes against our labeling requirements.
Yeah, because it should be the
It
English.
should be English. So, and some of them stop producing here. They bring in from Nigeria, through Benin, through Togo, and then they come in. Now, if you have a tax system that encourages high-level evasion, you cannot talk about that tax system being what? Fit for purpose.
Okay.
At the Ghana Prosperity Dialogue, at Movenpick, where the finance minister organized that, I think somewhere in November, I was part of the people to be there. All the big players, Talu, and everybody agreed that the tax was harsh, the tax was punitive. Now you are looking at three broad levels of taxes, to see whether the tax is fit for purpose or not. We have progressive tax, regressive tax, and proportional tax. Is the tax progressive, where the rich are paying more than the poor, or it is regressive, where the poor are paying rather than the rich, or it is proportional, where we talk about the flat rate?
Yeah.
Now we are looking at a system where currently our tax, I would say, is more regressive, in the sense that you have piled in too many taxes, and most of the taxes, the incidence of the tax is on the consumer.
Yeah.
If you come in with carbon emissions tax, and the carbon emissions tax, and you say, I'm taxing electricity corporation carbon emissions tax, electricity company will pay the carbon emission, but who will be the final payer? It's the consumer. You are dealing with products and goods that have inelastic demand. So with that level of the taxation, you cannot talk about that tax is fit for purpose. We are dealing with so many, go import through the Tema port. You have over 22 taxes. 22 taxes. The other leg you will be looking at is the tax fit for purposes, double taxation. Okay, they've come with growth and sustainability tax. Growth and sustainability, that is tax before what? Tax.
Tax, yeah.
Tax before what? Your profit. Now 2.5, before, if I declare my gross profit, then I calculate 2.5%, depending on the industry that you fall in. So 2.5% or 5% of that. Then you now deduct that tax, go and pay to the government. Now when you now take out all your overheads, you are left with your net profit. Then you calculate another tax, 35 or whatever percent, and you call it a fit for purpose tax. You talk about COVID-19 tax, that is levy, that is still in our tax books. You call it a fit for purpose tax. You are talking about a tax system that is highly regressive. People cannot, when you go through the system, the whole business community, everybody talks about the fact that if you want to be right, pay all the taxes, your business will die.
Yeah.
Your business will die. A tax system that encourages high-level evasion is not a tax that is fit for purpose. You need to revise it. You need to cut down. You need to remove some of the tax handles. You need to make the tax convenient. You need to make the tax simple. If you talk about the Abosokai, my friends at the Guta and whatever, they are advocating for flat rate tax and whatever, and on all that. As I sit down, and other most accountants, it is difficult for them to even to calculate some of the VAT, the VAT. The tax is complicated. You are saying you do your this thing, the sales, then you calculate and then put in all the VAT.
You have to hire Jeffrey to help them with that.
No.
The tax cost.
I was going to say that though, because I think there's some clarity we have to put to the presentation. Yeah. When you are talking about the tax system and the structure and its viability, look, the structure has no problem. The documentation has no problem. We can spend 10 seconds and I can explain it to him. Yeah. He has no problem. Application of what is on the paper can be problematic. Okay? Let's not jump to the circle and think that when people are evading, it is a clear indication that taxes were high. They are greedy people.
But he's
No.
He's
Can
giving
I
So you land.
Let's be fair. Let's be fair.
Jeffrey, hang on. I'll let you respond. I'll let Harry respond.
Taxation.
He's given, you see,
And I'll give
he's
you-
given some instances of double. He stated paying the tax before the new system of the growth. He's given all that,
They are
which
double
exists.
taxation.
Unless Madam Emilia will say it doesn't, and I'll allow you to respond to it as well.
Why
But
would
Jeffrey,
if you want to keep on arguing on that it is whatever not and all that, why will a country, a Temaport, go in 2000 and 2001, we call this country golden age of business, the gateway and all that. How come that Temaport has become a go city that people are now diverting their goods through Togo? Don't you think that that's a challenge?
Okay. No, everybody will respond. Let GRA respond first. Then I'll let Jeffrey come in and I'll let my two ladies respond. Because he's given us detailed, of some of the things.
Let me first start with provisional taxes that we talked about. Now, GRA's focus is on voluntary compliance. And for that reason, from the beginning of the year, from 1st January to the last day in March, as a taxpayer, you are supposed to self-estimate. GRA does not impose any tax on you anymore. It is only when you have failed to make your own estimates, that is when we give you provisional assessment.
How do you make, you see, I experienced this during the COVID period. I ran a business as well. And it was obvious I couldn't sell or do anything.
Yes.
So I called the tax guy, we were discussing, I said, I'm not going to do any business. It won't be possible. I can't get the goods I wanted. And he said, well, whether you are able to do it or not, we'll give you a fixed rate to pay. And I'm like, how are you going to determine that when I'm not going to make any money?
Let me try and explain.
Mother, it's what it is.
These are the realities.
Yes.
That's why you are talking about it. And that is why I am trying to explain that. Sometimes it's because we don't have the knowledge. That is why we are misled. First, in the beginning of the year, you can self-estimate. And again, we don't do only business. We are employees. We do investment, which all bring us income that we need to pay taxes on. So when we come to you, or when you come to us, we will take time and explain all these. Do you have any investments? Are you working anywhere? How much do you earn? These are all taxes.
So for my business that year, the
Yes.
COVID period, I didn't do any business. It's virtually shut down. Based on what are you assessing me and
Then
giving me that amount?
No, we will not assess you.
The tax officer gave me an amount.
The amount will be based on information he gathered.
Which information?
No, if you are working somewhere, you will be paid.
So
It's
is
part
he
of-
charging me? You see, I'm asking the questions that people, all of us
Exactly,
want to know.
exactly.
Is he charging me based on the fact that I work at Citi FM, or is charging me based on the fact that I ran another company?
Let me explain. At the end of the day, when we are talking about your income, we are not limiting it to only the business you are doing. We are considering you as a person. And it depends on how you've registered your business.
My business has nothing to do with mine.
Is this a limited liability business?
It is mine is a sole proprietor.
Then it is you that we are taxing. So, yes,
Taxing me
then it
based
is
on what?
you that we are taxing. It's based on your income from business, your income from employment, and your income from investment. Together we are taxing. So when you are able to communicate your business interest, your investment interest, and your employment interest, then we will help you. That will be more subjectively to come out with an assessment. What I want to emphasize is that at the end of the year, you have to file your return to tell us what you actually made from all these income streams. So, Uncle John, it is not always true that we will come to you. If you don't want us to come to you to tell you that this is your provisional assessment, please self-estimate. Come out with but you should know that when you self-estimate and we study your trend, and we realize that your estimates are far lower than how much the business is doing. Because now we have your withholding taxes being registered directly on your ledger. If we see the withholding taxes, for example, the experience we are having is that people come, self-estimate. Oh, this year I'll do only about 500 cities. Put 500 there. If we put 500 there, and for the first quarter, we see evidence of withholding of about 10,000, the GRA will give you a commissioner's assessment. That might be what you might consider outrageous.
No, but can I quickly answer?
Well, when you are done, please, I'll let Jeffrey and the ladies come.
All right.
To reduce this, because what we are doing here is education and a feedback from the business community.
Very
so it's
good.
not for individual interest.
All right.
So, for instance, you're talking about if you have for instance, if you have a hotel where you cannot predict when you are going to have a conference or you are not going to have a conference.
Exactly.
And this is a situation where at the time that businesses are very down, nobody wants to come and sleep in a hotel. Government wants to cut down expenditure. They even give us a rule, a law that all, except it is very critical, all conferences should happen within government premises and all that. Now, I have a hotel, or she has a hotel, and then she doesn't know, she doesn't predict that there's going to be any conference or whatever, not this year, or maybe I predict I'll have only one conference. So based on that self-assessment, I give a certain amount that I think I will pay. But something happens, like a rainfall, first quarter, boom. For instance, boom, there's a conference, about 500,000 cities. Then another conference about this. So in that case, you may have to, because you are allowed to revise.
Exactly.
You can go back and revise.
Exactly.
But I'm just giving that, I'll give that as an example. There's another critical thing that, Vivian, you need to look at, and we talk about, is the tax really, if not, we are talking about an entire system need to be overhauled. But there are certain handles and portions that need to look at. For instance, I have tax officers that tell you that withholding tax. Okay, withholding tax. And then they ask, you bought gravel. Where is the withholding tax for the gravel? You bought goat. Where is the withholding tax for the goat? And I'm serious about it. And these are things that, for instance, if you have a restaurant and the restaurant goes to Agogbulushi, and you go to buy vegetables there, a letter has come out from GRA, 1st April. From 1st April this year, all if you have expenses that are not VATed, they do not have VAT these things. Maybe you explain that. But what I read, if they are not, your expenses don't have VAT covered, then they will not be accepted. Now, how do I go and buy a goat?
A goat from Agogbulushi and get the VAT on it.
And ask for VAT.
Let me try and explain this. I want to.
Okay.
No, please.
Okay,
please.
Jeffrey.
The whole discussion.
Jeffrey.
Let me address the both parties.
Okay, please.
The problem is capacity. And I'll prove it right now. Your issue and your community, the issue is improper books. Improper books.
We are not talking about this.
No.
Don't say improper books. No. We are not talking about smaller businesses.
No.
I represent huge, credible companies.
Okay.
Food and I represent the Coca-Colas. I can mention massive companies. So you are not improper books.
Okay, John.
No, but don't say
I'll allow you to. We know farmers, they are huge.
No. This discussion.
Don't say that.
This discussion can be wonderful if my senior brother can stop the lumping of everybody in one coat. The whole industry proving that they are just one like this and they are all innocent, they are all honest.
You think some of them are not, you know,
these same companies you are talking about do transfer pricing. We were in this country when in the tax system alone, a company operated for 9, when they realized that we have flaws in our tax system, they exploited it. A company, a known company, with all the professionals you are talking about, they exploited my country. After 9 years of operation, they changed their name. After 9 years of operation, they changed their name. I'll give it to them, I blame them, and I blame your community. I'm being emotional here because these, can I land? These are large sums of money that the poor, my mother was selling banku and was paying taxes. And big companies like what you are saying were evading taxes and avoiding taxes. And I want to be very clear with you that when I talk about books that were improper or taking advantage of the system, there were big shops in this country who decided that when we're going to apply the electronic VAT invoicing, they were running away. And some had the big heart to tell a GRA organization that we, by the statute of law, has established that they will not do it. And so when they say use of force, I would like to clearly come here and say reasonable force. Reasonable force with a human face. At every point in life, we have to use force. You see peacekeeping. The soldiers that go for peacekeeping. For Christ's sake, they don't use pure water. They use guns.
Yeah.
They don't use toy guns. They use guns. At a point when people are jumping, you use reasonable force.
So
Even
therefore, you
peacemakers.
believe
So when we come in-
it's a two-way affair.
It's a two-way affair, and I'm proving to you that at the GRO side, you can talk about the default of officers. Some officers go into the default zone.
Yeah.
Like an officer telling somebody that, look, even though your company was actually facing challenges, you had to only go there and file that, look, with proof, these are my records. My suppliers have not supplied me any goods. I have not ordered any goods. My company is at a standstill now. With all those records, the GRA must quickly go in and do what?
Review.
But let me tell you what, this is why some of us call for the introduction of a relationship officers. If there's a proper interface between the two of them, and one goes there, visits and say, like I told you about the relationship of the banks and even the people who they are collecting their money to go and invest for. I mean, you go.
But why is the GRA struggling to do that?
No, you see,
I mean, this thing has been
no, that's what I'm saying.
These concerns of John.
You know what?
have
If you
been
leave the
there.
two of them, everybody will be right.
No, you see, the
But
question...
I'm just telling you the facts. The facts are
question
that
is-
there are companies in this country, okay, moving from middle to wherever big companies you are talking about. Some even they were swerving from the VAT issuance.
Yeah.
They were actually, they
No,
were
we saw
cutting
them
down.
on TV because we go around with the GRA during those exercises.
I'm loving you for this one. So the facts are there. Let's not. I'm not using word. Let's not delay the process. The truth is that there are shortfalls. The GRA has shortfalls too. It's a problem of capacity. It's a problem of even the machinery. It's not just about introducing and saying that you can pay taxes via the password.
Okay.
You need to get the people to understand and use it.
Okay.
We
Yes.
are not taking into consideration the accountability aspect
The
of this whole thing.
transparency.
Because even if we are being overburdened with tax, it's okay. What are the taxes being used for?
Okay.
Are we actually seeing it? Are we experiencing it?
So you will pay
Are we
more if
touching it?
you experience
So
the
yes,
use,
if you're
yeah.
experiencing the tax, if you can touch and feel the tax, that all these things that we are paying, it's being used for a particular thing. We can see that this is what it's being used for. Then if I'm paying, I wouldn't talk.
Exactly.
I can back it with the facts.
To add to that, the reason why I would say that if we are paying our taxes, the government is really engaging us in paying taxes. It is promoting democracy. The government is promoting democracy. So as long as some people will keep quiet and not directly worry about all these tax issues because directly they don't pay.
Yeah.
So they don't see the need to come and be shouting and talking about all this. Jeffrey is being emotional because he pays his own. At least he sees the direct one that goes into government coffers. So if something is not happening with that money, then he has the audacity to talk about it because he is not experiencing it. But if you are going to talk about participatory democracy, it's part of what are our taxes being used for. So if you are asking the question, is our tax regime fit for purpose? That is what we should be looking at. We are not looking at whether Fabag is paying or not, whether the Guta is paying or not, GPRT is paying or not. That is not our issue. That is not what I am here looking at. From CSO point of view, for a youth point of view, for a citizen point of view, I am looking at what you are collecting now. What are you using it for?
Okay.
But
The fire in the studio is...
There was a CDD finding what
Okay.
you
Everybody
said.
will have the opportunity
You know what
to
you
talk.
said and
So
what you
Jeffrey,
said.
let me
CDD
moderate
says
this.
that
Jeffrey
80%.
speaks, John comes, Madam Oxfam, and then we'll have Madam Emily, and then we'll go for a quick break. So
Right.
yes.
There's a CDD finding that 80% of Ghanaians were ready to pay more taxes.
Yeah.
But they want to see what those revenues, when collected, will be used for. And when you just put that with what I said early on, that look, why are people paying tithes? And when it comes to taxes, then they refrain. Look, the big companies and the small companies, one thing is the structure in place. Everybody must pay something. You want to make it progressive, the rich pay more, middle pay a little more than those down there, and then you have a very good tax system. The structures in place, they are okay. But like any other structure all over the world, in a human institution, you need to be reviewing them as time goes on. Even in the US, I'm sure that they will always have periodic tax structure review. You need to do that. It's actually, you see, because we sit down, sometimes we have a challenge of our tax system planning. So sometimes we sit down and sometimes you say knee-jerk reaction. When the system starts dropping a bit, let's introduce e-levy. Let's introduce this one. That is the problem. But you see, there's something we call tax planning. You should have, like the NDPC, as we're having this discussion, you look at our development projections and see that, look, let's have this tax resources that will trickle in over a period of X time. And sometimes you talk about reliefs, just to leave some of the weight from the taxpayers. And then, unfortunately, in my country, the whole interest has been dipped into exemptions. It all has to go to the big companies. So when I hear the big companies complaining, sometimes I sit back, I'm like, look, we 1 year, this year alone, we're targeting $449 million to be doled out to companies.
In exemptions.
In exemptions. Same country, we are going to another place to go and ask for a loan of about $450 million. Just to put the two. And then she would go like, if you invest into exemptions, you grant that one-ton exemptions, what are the returns? It's not wrong to give exemptions. Even debt. It's not wrong to collect debt. What do you use the debt for? Go and look at the debt of America, Japan, and other big countries. It is what you invest into. When you take debts, loans, and invest into Soglemi, and it sits there today, accruing debts on my head, that's the problem. If you collect the money, and you use the money to come and do things that you don't get the returns, that's the problem. Granting exemptions, personally, Jeffrey Okansi, I totally don't agree with it. Because I look at it from two angles. It's either I'll give you deferred tax payment without interest. I can defer your tax payment for like 3 years, but I'll come for my money after 3 years. Okay. In the 3 years, if after 1 year you close your company, I get you back. I get all my money from you with interest because you defaulted. The last one I'll say is that the next one I'll look at is when you want exemptions from me, prove it that in 3 years you can survive. Go and take a bank loan. Do that thing. I'll give you X amount of exemptions. If you excel and do it wonderfully, I see that 1, you've expanded your business. 2, you've expanded the number of employees in your company. That's going to give you to pay more company income tax. And then your employers have increased, so I'm going to get more from pay as you earn. I grant you that exemptions without any difficulty.
All right, great.
Because now we are just exploring the exemptions. It's a chop and go free.
Yeah. Let's have Oxfam.
So I think also looking at it from another perspective, right? Both for the business community and then for GRA, right? It's important, just as he mentioned earlier, that to realize that especially within business, there's a lot of unpredictability. So which means that the channels of communication cannot continue to be as is. There has to be more open lines of communication. I love the idea of the relationship officers. How can that be improved? Such that it's no longer just that the only time you are interacting with them is just when you are paying, you have to pay the tax, right? Because it's when there are so many gaps in information, that is where the realities you are talking about in terms of, okay, money going into other people's pockets, because all of that money should come into our kitty. As Madam Emilia already mentioned, Ghana is averagely doing just about 14%. There are other African countries who are doing much better. There are some who are also doing worse. But we don't really want to continue to be at that 14%. If we want to go much higher, how can we do that? And the media has a very critical role to play, because even, let's say, yes, right now we have accounting and then finance and tax students here. But what about the other students who are not studying that? Because when we, after school, right, whether you are in formal employment or you are doing your own business or even just as a consumer, there is some level of tax that you have to pay. So where do you even get that information? How do you get to know that this is what you should even do, or these are the things that you should know? How do you even get to understand the tax system better? Are we going to continue to leave it just as a preserve of a few? Maybe you are a business owner or you are a CSO operating in tax, or you work at GRA. How does the ordinary person get to know exactly what they need to do, so that if there are some things that are not going well, then they can also raise those kinds of questions? So,
right. So I'll let you have the floor, and then I'll take a quick break.
All right. When we listen to ourselves, we realize that one thing that stands out is that I think our level of education when it comes to tax knowledge is limited even amongst those who are, for us, at the top. Because when John was speaking, he talked about the issue of, what do you call it? Invoices. Let's talk about first about the expenses that you should cover with VAT invoices. When we talk about VAT, we talk about a category of taxpayers, those who are supposed to charge 200,000 cedis and above, and the transactions should be VATable. It's not everything. Raw food, raw animals, red in Ghana, all those things are not covered by VAT. So when
I'm not, sorry for it's maybe unprofessional, but these things that I say, I don't sit down here and just say it. I'm talking about face-to-face where GRA people stand and say that, bring me withholding tax on a goat that you bought.
No, let me try and explain.
I'm telling you the truth.
That's why I'm saying that it's a lack of knowledge.
By me or the GRA? By the GRA person.
No, that's
why I mentioned that there are defaulting officers who actually have challenged
themselves.
And these are senior officers.
So for GRA,
those are faults.
Those kinds of gaps, and it's very easy to exploit.
No, that is why for GRA, we expect that engage your client officers. Come to the office where you don't understand or appreciate what someone is saying. Come and ask questions. Because how can I come to you and ask you to show evidence of withholding
on their goods?
On their goods.
I think, Madam, you should also make sure you actually educate people about the system of appeal.
Yeah.
There's a system of appeal.
Exactly. You say, we are there to listen to your inquiries. You are there to listen to your complaints.
But I think sometimes the businesses, in the heat of and doing so much, coming all the time to seek clarification.
We have a toll-free line that you can always call in. If the person who is receiving your call cannot address your concern, you will always be referred to another person who
because
can help.
Because if a business, you see, I think that the rules should be very clear, so clear that a business must not even be calling every now and then to see for clarification.
You say so.
If John is running a multi-million-dollar business and he has to deal with this goat issue, when he has so much on his table, what you see, Auntie Emilia, the reality of what he do is to pay his way through, just to move on with his work. That's what we need to look at.
GIA does not want. Education is ongoing. And unfortunately, sometimes when we invite taxpayers for education, I'm sorry, most of
Nobody
them,
turns out.
They will not come.
GRA officers, GRA officers, who a GRA officer, right, not outside, in the GRA office, right in the office, it says that when I bring an electrician to come and fix my socket, and I give the electrician 100 cedis, I do withholding tax.
Let me explain.
Why are you not doing withholding tax on that?
John, let me try and explain. Ultimately, all these monies goes into your expenses. Yeah. And we want everyone to also pay something. That is why we ask that withhold. That is a way of getting everyone. When you withhold and you pay to GRA, it reflects in the person's ledger. And we know he is a taxpayer. That we need to follow up. Because if you don't withhold and pay, how do we know?
No, we're not talking about not withhold. We are talking about a system. You should understand. We are talking about a system because at the end of the day, whatever you withhold, it goes to your benefit. Right. If you pay VAT and then you spend and then you get VAT receipt, it comes still to your benefit. So it is even more better for the business to get VATs and all that and all that. But we are talking about a system where about 70% of that system is largely informal.
All right.
Whereby somebody goes to Agbogbuloshi to go and buy carrots, a basket, 300 cedis, and they are asking Agbogbuloshi person that I want to do withholding tax. No, you see, before we can come back and talk about it, I'm not saying that the withholding tax is bad. We are talking about discussing that is the system fit for purpose. And I'm talking about there are certain areas that need what? Revision. That needs to be looked at, because if you talk about to withhold the tax, and the GRA senior people are insisting that you must withhold tax on gravel that you have bought, stones that you have bought, pepper that you have bought, goats that you have bought, and yet you would have loved to do that withholding, but all of us who have built know that it is not possible to go and tell the gravel owner that I'm doing withholding tax on that.
So if
like you talk about tax planning,
I said,
Like
that,
you talk
the whole
about
structures
planning.
were okay. We need to, I mean, like any other structure, you need to be reviewing over time.
Uh-huh.
Like, remember, I even said, like, he's coming to talk about the stones and then if you went by what I said early on, you have a permit you go for, you have a document for filing your taxes. All the suppliers will be on that system, and then you make sure you take you see, if you improve, I just mentioned that the problem also has to do with the systems they have in their place. They're okay, but you need to review them. These are okay structures. You need to be reviewing it. It's only about putting a relationship officer there. That's an okay structure to have a relationship officer. I guess you're getting me.
Okay.
But beyond that, what training you give that relationship officer to go onto the field and be tactful in her duty, okay, is important. For her own innovation, having a WhatsApp group of all the people who she's dealing with within a circle area is also important, so that by the daily basis, complaints can come in, even aside the toll, the call free toll system. That's okay.
Yeah.
But I'm saying the structure itself is okay. You can work on it as you move forward. But applying it now is a problem. You need to apply force when the person is not like going right. You have to close the shop. The next thing is the person should be aware of the appeal system. That is no officer surcharges or even does what she mentioned. It is in law that the Commissioner General, they are acting in the name of the Commissioner General. If you have a problem with it, there's a whole system of appeal. That's why we have the commercial courts. And the Chief Justice went ahead and created a particular
An appellate.
an appellant system for them. So you actually can go there and then you can quickly address your issues. It's about you seeing the tax officer. They said we have A, B, C to close down a shop. It's about you complying, closing it down. At the end of the day, if you lost business because of that, you can sue the government of the Republic.
So I agree with Jeff. I agree
work.
with Jeff at the part about the officers also getting training, because the truth is, like Auntie Emilia is now saying certain things. Some of the things Auntie Emilia is saying now is new to me, right? Because I, like you, I also had a business I was also running. And I went because, young girl, after uni, you started something in uni, you want to make it legit and all that. After going to Registrar General, you said, okay, let me go and do the tax one. So in case I want to go for big contracts, I can do that as well. I packed all my documents. I went to GRA office. And you know what the office I went to told me? They referred me to another office. Initially, I spent almost the whole day, and whatever they were doing, I wasn't understanding. They came, they said they had to interview me, took my document, took my this, took my that. I showed everything. Then later, I was told that they were giving me a flat rate. Like the amount they were mentioning, I know at this particular point in my business, I just started sole proprietorship. And I now want to go for the big contracts. Yeah. So at that particular point, whatever you are saying, I couldn't do. So me, when I left, I know I'm not going back there again. Then I went home. But then after a couple of months, I said, I still really want to, because some businesses, if you want to deal with them, you need all those things. Yeah. So I had to go back. So this time around, I didn't go to that office. I went to a different office. This is the same thing after queuing for a long time, we got to my turn. The officer I even spoke to, she didn't even know what she was talking about. Now she's now telling me I should now go to the medium enterprise, the one at Melcombe, not Kanishi. I should now go there and go and seek clarification. She gave me some documents. I took the documents. I came to put in the house. Finish. So but I can be in that system. My business could have been in that system. Yeah. But personally, as I'm working with an organization right now, I'm paying, because it's still a sole proprietorship, I'm still paying taxes directly in that way. But the officers themselves need to know. I, as a small business, when I go to GRA website, it should be clear. It should, this whole thing about tax is so clear. Like, it's so complex. Yeah. It looks like it's a particular group of people that needs to understand.
Preserved for a few
I
people.
think that's the simplicity of our tax.
Yes. You see, generally,
when you look at the tax canons, I mean, the canons of taxation, simplicity is one of it, fairness, when you follow them, the discussion we have, if you should follow it, you realize that the structure is there, satisfying all these things. But each one you pick once we are in a human institution, you'll be able to identify what is going on well, and then what the challenges, like the simplicity she's talking about. You can have somebody who has a master's degree, PhD. Look, I have ever been to Western region with Tax Dialogue, one of the officials actually, Dr. Alex Ampabe. We were in Takrady. When we were leaving, the GRA official there with the accountant we were working with, and then we had to spend about 1 hour with the back and forth. So you see, I think we should all eat our humble pie and say this, where the fact is. There's a challenge with the taxpayer. There's a challenge with the tax collector. There's a bigger challenge. In fact,
all of us,
no. With the person using our tax
using the
revenue.
tax.
Yeah.
There's a bigger challenge.
I agree.
Like, look on the left-hand side of Accra, where we are digging pits, you know, and then come to another southmost part of Accra, where I can see somebody, 14 or 13 people dying because there's no dialysis machine.
Yeah.
That is where emotions would roll. If I lost a friend because there's no dialysis machine, and you come back, you want to collect taxes.
You come and tell us you pay taxes.
It's not a justification for me not to pay taxes. But it is the reason why I'll be emotional about it. So look, collection, there's something called the 3 C's. It's all based on communication. Just guess the magic about communication. Even this whole world, all of us sitting here, God used communication. He said, let there be this, let there be that. And so that's the power of communication. Look, who is mightier than God? But when he was going to do some of his things, he consulted men.
Human beings,
So how can men in their own little humble glory think that they are know all? That's what the problem is. Tax communication is key, it's lifeline to taxation. First one, first communication has to do with telling the people what to pay, why they have to pay, explaining to them. Even during collection, relationship officers should be there to communicate to them what to do. It's not only about creating the digitalized platform, how to use it, how efficient, how can you be explaining to them that they can use it? Look, even in Ghana, when I'm loading phone unit, I get angry. The steps that I have to take
too many.
That's
but
the
they
problem.
say it's for your own
well,
security.
Then the final one is the last communication, which is key. Reason why we are paying tithes and running away from taxes. Communicate what you use the monies for. It becomes a problem. You have collected. We have all collected. We supported you. We were the payers. You were the collectors. You are the main user in the consolidated fund, like Madam said. When it comes to applying, then you apply it to suit your, even not you break the law. Look at Get Fund. You cap Get Fund. National Health Insurance Levy, you cap it. That's the problem. The ones that I've given you the money for, you decide to do what to do with it. And then the next time I'm watching television, I see a structure collapse on primary school children. That's a problem. I'm not justifying the reason why people are not paying taxes. I'm just explaining to you.
Realities.
You see, it's one thing understanding, and it's one thing supporting it. I understand why they are doing that. And my call on the GRA, we have the National Tax Forum on the 27th of March. Let us all come and meet again. You see, dialogue is where we can build it. Oxfam again, after creating this platform, Oxfam has created another platform again on the 27th of March.
Well, we have to allow Oxfam to speak more. You who are not allowing
I'm in charge of that one. Oxfam is sponsoring us and supporting us. It's a national tax dialogue. We all have to meet industry, researchers, that's in academia, CSO, advocates, and the people who are paying the taxpayers and the tax administrators, and then the government officials who are actually going, and that's why I pardon to say that, look, I feel it for my incoming Deputy Minister of Finance, who actually was, he is actually the direct originator, Tax Dialogue, driving the process the first time, and now he's actually the originator of the Tax Forum. Now he's coming there as a guest to speak. And so now I'll see whether it's my own brother, but I'll test the language.
I think that he has highlighted a whole lot of stuff. But like we're talking about a system.
Right.
Why, the question we should be asking, you've highlighted a lot of that, but the other leg we should be asking, why is it that critically people don't want to pay the taxes? Why?
Should I give the 3 reasons?
So no, you have given some of the reasons that, like you give it like that. No, you give it. But largely, I want it. It should be established that the tax system currently is just way too high. It's punitive.
So you mean the handles? You mean the
so
number of
the number of handles?
Right.
The number of handles. There are just too many.
Right.
There are too many.
That's for you. I'm with you.
Because for instance, if you go and buy Vivian, you
Not good. Don't say good.
No, I'm talking about it. No, I'm telling you, no, these things are not theories.
Oh, my God.
I'm a practical person. These are realities that I cannot just make, but there are some of the real stories I'm giving to you people. But you go and buy a what do you call it?
Carrots?
No, a car. Let me take
car,
it a car,
okay.
a nice one. You go buy a car, $20,000. Maybe you go to the US and then you get a vehicle that is accident. This thing, and you are lucky to get it like $10,000 or $20,000. And then you come down to the port, and then they tell you that, many years ago when you come, that you could have predicted how much you pay. But now they come and tell you that they are giving benchmark values.
Yeah.
So a value that you cannot predict. So they now come, and then only the person you are meeting at the port can tell you the value. And now tells you that I bought the car $20,000. Now the person sitting down looking at your face and looking at the type of car,
it's true.
looking at the type of car that you have brought, tells you that that car is valued $50,000. And so how did you get the system? So that me too, I can go into that system and then check and say that it is my system. There's no way you can verify. You can verify that.
So we agree.
So a vehicle that I bought $20,000, I end up paying the tax. In fact, you pay the tax almost equivalent to what you bought it.
Of the car,
It doesn't encourage you
to bring
again or to pay that tax.
Yes.
If you find a way of evading it, you will evade it. So when we talk about a general system where you find out that, because it is very good. Look, let me give you an example, if time permit. My wife was going to give birth right in our house in the US. We called 911. In less than 5 minutes, the ambulance was right. I think the ambulance was
waiting for you
us
to call them. Yes.
And then when we got to the hospital and all that, because of time and all that, by the time they were discharging us from the hospital, I didn't want to go home because I felt so comfortable. Then I was ready, looking at that,
to pay.
I was ready to pay everything because I see the state behind me. I see a system behind me.
Thank you.
But today, if I go and I'm in my house and I'm calling a police officer, hey, the people are coming to attack me, they will come based on the name that is calling them. And they come and then you will have to pay them. Hey, officer, we have finished.
Your boys are here.
Your boys are here. Call even, ambulance. It may be that. Call any of them. All of us are aware about that. That for me, to a greater extent, you are paying heavy taxes, punitive taxes, yet you don't have a state behind you.
Yes.
And when we have politicians that come out and say that, and we are dealing with the vulnerable, I have always said that everybody in this country is vulnerable.
Yes. Thank you.
And that's the reason why we don't want, we don't feel that like to pay the tax. But if you don't pay the tax, I asked 2 days ago, I asked a friend, I said, so okay, we are, let me say we are rich. Have you found a rich man? Has a rich man ever bought an ambulance and put
in their house?
In their house. They said, no. There no rich men don't buy an ambulance. I said, I was thinking about buying an ambulance. I said, so, you see, the point is that you wouldn't buy an ambulance and put, because you are going to rely on the general district. So generally, it is important for us to pay the taxes. It is very, very excellent for us to pay. Evasion, in fact, and look, it is easier to comply, in my opinion, than to evade, because the consequences are just too much when they arrest you. And apart from that,
your name,
the inconvenience, the thing that you lose in the public system, because you won't have the road, you won't have the hospital, you have, so it's they collect all those little things and come and put all those things together. But I wouldn't pay Vivian when a student that I taught in the university, and I see that the next time, because he has decided to join the politics, he's sitting now in a V8, and I'm still riding a bicycle and passing. Why will I pay tax for that?
Should I add to what you said? So, Jeffrey, hold on. Jeffrey, hold on.
It's important to say
Jeffrey, hold on.
No, that's just by the side.
It will seem to, it's a genuine point for you to say that, look, they're driving V8s against your bicycle. That's a genuine point. That's justified. But you see, that shouldn't be the reason or justification why you shouldn't pay taxes. Because the truth is that you can, all those people driving the V8s, that's why you talk about the system. The system provides you and I the opportunity to correct it. Do we want them to get the V8? If no, do you remember Drop the Chamber?
Yeah.
It was just the IT system. You drop the chamber, and we dropped the chamber. That's the power of the people. That's the voice of the people. If we agree this afternoon, just about 6 of us, we start a campaign that, look, we don't want the loan to be given to MPs at X amount. But then we think that, look, just as we are in their same game, we're in an economic downturn, they should get X amount. It will be done. The systems are there. That's why you asked me, that is the system okay? I said, yes, you are part of it. You are a taxpayer. If you have any issues about it, the Constitution has given you every right to correct it.
Yeah.
You see, when you put the laws there, the law makes extra provisions for you to correct itself. Even the Constitution itself has made a provision that after certain years, you should review the Constitution.
Okay.
So it's about
Business
you using
community.
the law to your advantage.
Business community. We have written so many complaints. I have personally written too many. These tax handles should be removed. Excise tax on water, whatever, carbon
COVID
emission
levy,
tax, COVID
we have said that
levy,
we
and all, they don't. Nobody gives a damn.
So Vivian, that's
so why should
another
I
thing.
pay?
There's something we call nuisance tax. There's something we call nuisance tax.
Yeah.
Nuisance
So, like,
tax.
for as we speak right now, COVID-19 is a nuisance tax,
Yeah, it is.
as we all
And it's
think.
still
So
there,
you see,
and the COVID has moved on.
that's what I keep telling you. Do we know? Do they know? Do I know? Do you know that we have the power as citizens to appeal to systems? You know, yesterday it was about taking up arms and then the coup d'etat. No. Today we are in democracy.
But there are
You
so
have
many
appealed.
ways
Yes.
of advocating.
Yes.
Advocacy can come in a way of
Petitions.
citizens.
You can do
petition
petition.
And there
You
have
can
been
do
a lot of
picketing.
petitions. There have been picketing. There have been
We've
protests
done so
against
many.
all these things. Yes.
And nobody gives
they
a
are
damn
still
to you.
there.
I am not holding
So what
front.
else would
you
the,
see,
the
I'm not
citizenry
holding.
do?
I cannot hold front for
Yeah.
any government or any person. But I tell you what, the system gives you the chance to pick it. We've done that.
Yes.
We keep having our Jojo.
Yes.
Look, when we're calling for the removal of, I was one of the people who called for the removal of taxes from menstrual pads, and I led it with all my heart.
Yeah.
Today they passed it.
Yeah.
Okay. What I'm looking back right now is.
Portion of it.
Not
Well, we divided as some part of it. We
Clarify,
divided as
Vic.
some part of it. Personally, I thought we should grant that exemption to locally produced menstrual pads.
Yeah.
Right from the start.
Yeah.
Because I am a nationalist. It's about Ghana for me. I love Africa, but it's about my Ghana. I love the world, but it's still about my Ghana. So every other thing we do, it should be about our Ghana. If it comes to it, I said, I push it. You said we've gotten part of it. That's what I believe. You know, the system of democracy grinds slowly. You achieve bit by bit. And that's the beauty of democracy. All that he has said wonderfully. The tax system itself, the structure will stand there. We call it for a review. It's excellent. But while at it, let's make sure we know everybody has a role to play in there. Okay. And just as you can point quickly to GRA, they can also point quickly to you, point to even you. Look, sometimes I say even the observers sitting back and watching. If I watch you to slap her, and I think because I'm sitting far and I only watch
you, yeah.
I'm part of it for watching on. There are Ghanaian citizens who are paying their taxes. For them, they work, they pay their tax. Because come back here, you will sit there until it comes back to catch up with you. Because when the system grinds, it will affect you directly or indirectly. All I'm saying is that, look, when we meet, let's always be taking the points. On exemptions, what is our view? Personally, I don't like exemptions.
No, why you
But
do
when
exemptions?
it comes to, sorry?
Why should they give exemptions?
Okay,
I
I have to take a quick
exemptions
break.
they are giving,
Yeah,
are they
no, no, no,
even publishing it?
Okay, I'm
We need
muting,
to
I'm
see the
muting all of
exemptions.
you. I have to take a quick break. I'm muting all of you. I have to take a quick break. It's a great conversation, but we need to bring in our viewers, our listeners, and of course, we have a studio audience. We now need to bring in the questions and comments. So I'm going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll take your questions and your comments, and then we'll be wrapping up from here. Well, some of us believe it's fit for purpose, but the implementation and a bit of review here and there, some don't believe at all. They've given some reasons why they think it's not fit for purpose. When we come back, they'll tell us what we can do to make it fit for purpose. And those who believe it is fit for purpose, how we can make it better. We'll be right back. Don't go away. You're welcome back to the Oxfam Tax Dialogue. Very interesting discussions happening here in the studios of Citi TV. A great panel here trying to see whether our tax system is fit for purpose. Let me go through my guests who are here, and then we'll go back to some of the issues they are raising. I have Dr. Angela Zuma. She's with Oxfam. I have Jennifer Moffat with Bash Ghana. I have Emilia Assam. She's Assistant Commissioner at the GRA. We have Jeffrey Okanse. He's with Revenue Mobilization Africa. And of course, John Awuni, who is with the Food and Beverages Association of Ghana, actually the executive chairman. I'll bring in our viewers and, of course, our students who are here with us. I'm sure they have a lot of questions because they've been nodding into some of the things we've been saying. But let me take some of the comments that we've received. This one says, if GRA says it has 9 tax force that collected tax from those engaged in the 9th business, how much have they collected so far from this initiative, if you have those figures? And then the second one says, how does a new employer who is patriotic and loves Ghana and runs his or her own business register to pay for tax? This one says, the issue about locking up businesses, is that progressive? It's a question. How come startup businesses in Ghana do not enjoy tax waivers for a year as it is done elsewhere to help them stand on their feet before paying tax? This one says the formal sector is overturned with obnoxious taxes. Devise means to include the informal sector to pay their portion. And then this one says certification of artisans is very important to broaden the tax net. So quite a number of questions for you, Madam Emilia. You want to answer them?
All right, I'll first start with the informal sector. Okay. Now, GRA has developed taxation for the informal sector, where we have 3 main categories. Those who have turnover below 20,000, who are those, these are those that are for small businesses, and they pay the tax stamp, which we collect quarterly. We have those who have turnover 20,000 up to 200,000, who also can apply to operate a flat rate based on turnover. They pay 3%. And we have another who can use the cash basis. Up to 500,000 Ghana cedis, you can use the cash basis. But you should know that you should not have branches, you should not be a professional, you should, the business should not be described by tax law and other provisions we have as complex and high profitability. So we have taxes for the flat rate, the small businesses, which we are targeting. And with the Ghana card being in existence, every person who is doing business can always register. You can register online, follow up to the office. For your tax type, you can apply for your tax types. So if you have employees, you can apply and we will approve so that you pay taxes for your employees. Then you also talked about dispensations for startups.
Yes.
Depending on location, we have incentives for location. So if you are operating a business outside the region, we have tax incentives for you. Particular sectors, we have tax incentives for you. Technology, agro-processing, horticulture, waste management. And we have special dispensations for young entrepreneurs. Okay. You know, if you are an entrepreneur, you are below 35, you can apply for the young entrepreneurship. You apply through the ministry and your documents are sent to your tax office. We evaluate your business, confirm.
It's a long process.
It is not a long process, but you should, so far what I've observed is information that they present may not support what they say they do. That makes it challenging because we can't approve that you'll be giving those waivers when there's no certainty with your business. Okay. I have witnessed young entrepreneurs benefit from that, so you can always take advantage. Then I think, is that all? Ministry of Finance.
So if these incentives you're talking about for the youth, for particular sectors and all that, you go through the Ministry
Finance.
So they can walk to the Ministry of Finance and say,
verify.
we want to do ABC,
Yes,
so help me.
With their business registration.
Okay.
And it's for individuals, for the young entrepreneur, it's for individuals.
Okay.
So it's not a company.
Okay.
So an individual who has a startup can always...
So for the youth covered women, are there anything for women?
There are no special dispensations
I was
for women.
telling Jeffrey,
however, there are no
for
special dispensations for women. But if you fall in any of the category, and depending on the business you do, you will always benefit.
Okay. What about physically challenged people?
We have release for physically challenged people. When you are an individual, where you are in employment, it is not only limited to physically challenged. You have release for your children up to 3. And you have relief for marriage and responsibility, education. So all these things, you only have to work to a tax office, complete a relief form, and with the necessary supporting documents, then you'll be granted those reliefs. So that when your employer is computing your taxes at the end of the year, you will take advantage of those reliefs. Okay.
Now, one of the questions was, why can't businesses in Ghana enjoy the tax waivers for a year like it's done elsewhere?
I think this is something that we can communicate to the tax policy makers. There's no set thing in our law that release people for startups. But generally, when people start business, they don't make profits in the first year. So we don't see many of them paying taxes. But unless, of course, you are made to pay some provisional taxes because you have not filed your own estimates. That is where you pay taxes.
Okay. I'll open the floor for the students to ask their questions. And then when we are done with that, I'll take 2 minutes each from you on your final statement. So if we are ready, we can go with the questions. You can just raise your hand and then I'll reach out to you. Okay, whilst we are preparing for that, okay, we have a gentleman. Please identify yourself and then go ahead.
My name is Philip Maulier, the level 400 BSc Economics.
Okay.
Yes, so my question is about corruption in GRA. So it was mentioned that some of the GRA officials connive with the businesses to help them evade the taxes. So what measures will the GRA put in place to address that issue? Thank you.
Thank you. Any other quickly, then okay, the gentleman in the...
Okay, so I'm David Lamptey Jr., level 400 Banking and Finance. So Madam from GRA made mention that they provided online sites for you to pay your tax. But here lies the case. In this country, we know the rate of illiteracy. Even look at the market women. Even they can't even operate mobile money for them to understand going to pay taxes on sites. So I think you guys should review this policy again and see how manually you can take this tax. And also, we're here in this country where they introduced these TIN numbers where you need to register your TIN before you can do bank account. But you are saying you can't get taxes from the informal sector. Here lies the case. These informal sectors people, when they are going to create bank accounts, they use TIN numbers. So can't you collide with the banks and get these taxes from them? Thank you.
Okay, I'll take a final one from a lady. Okay, and then we come back.
Okay, so my name is Alex Mensah, level 400 accounting with computing. So he was talking about the informal sector and then the painters and the carpenters who are supposed to be paying their taxes but they are not. Is there a way for the withholding tax system to be made in such a way that the people that are giving the contracts to these painters and carpenters will be able to withhold some of the taxes that they are supposed to pay and then account it to GRA later?
Okay. Thank you very much. Great question.
All right, I will start with the last submission. When it comes to registration of persons, every person who is doing business in Ghana must register. And if you engage the services of anyone, and the person is not your employee, you are expected to withhold tax. If he's your employee, then you are expected to withhold his PAYE and pay to us. That is why sometimes we have a problem with people, contractors, who take up big contracts and engage these people. Ultimately, we go back to them and we realize that they have not withheld from them. Assuming they withhold, this information will sit on their individual ledgers, because when you are withholding, you need the details of the person's Ghana card number or his TIN. That will be factored in your schedules. And when it comes, GRA will have your information. Then the other thing our brother talked about is about corruption in GRA. And when we look at corruption index, GRA sometimes is mentioned. What I would say is that GRA has put in place measures to ensure that those who are found culpable go through the process. Some are prosecuted, and we have internal structures as well as going to the courts to get those people arrested and jailed. And we also have a hotline. If you believe that corruption, it takes two, those the giver and the recipient. If you have any information, you can always use that toll-free line or walk to any GRA office, meet the office manager, and communicate that to you. Your anonymity will be kept, so please, you are protected. So and the same way, we expect that when you realize that someone is also evading, taxes, let us know, so that we can get them. Then your question
about is it him?
The TIN and also the online platform.
Right. The Ghana card, now everyone has a Ghana card. Not everyone.
Not
almost everyone. And some of us have the TIN together. So when you come to GRA, we have merged the two numbers. So that is what identifies you. And we are getting information from a lot of sources. So as a student, your academic information will be available with time. Your SNET information, if your employee will be available with time. We are hooked to RGD, Registrar General Department. We have plans to get hooked on to SNET and DVLA, so that if you bring in a car, you realize that we see that we have a big informal sector we are dealing with. But we are doing everything to make sure that, so we now have a high net worth entity, because we realize that there are some people who are also doing a lot of business, but they are not accounting for the tax. So we have a unit that is taking care of that. We have a unit that is taking care of the informal sector. We have a unit that is taking care of e-commerce, so that if you sit in the comfort of your home and you sell online, we are following up on all these things, and very soon we will catch up with you.
Okay, we are wrapping up now. Yes, so it will be part of your 1 minute wrapping up. So we start. We have only 7 minutes, and so it's only 5. Give 1 minute, 20 seconds to each other. So let's start with
fine.
you.
So the issue of the corruption that you're talking about in GRA and all that, it's not only corruption in GRA. The entire system, in my opinion, is corrupt. Everywhere, all of us, we are corrupt. And I'm saying so because there's a strong correlation between the cost of living and corruption. Okay. And so we are looking at a situation where incomes are very, very low, yet things are so expensive. Mm-hmm. If somebody is earning 2,000 Ghana cedis a month, and yet you have to pay a rent of 2,000, what is left for 2-bedroom house? What's left to do the other things and all that? So when the government wants to fight corruption, they must look at a situation where they can bring down the taxes, that things will be so affordable, and people will be able to comply and then do. Other than that, all of us are managers. Everybody here, including all of you, we are managing. So we are all thinking about how we can survive the system. So that's why everybody is trying to pass through every way to get whatever not. The last point is that the tax system objective, when I started, I said it must have a stimulating effect. Now the question is, once the private sector is not doing well, what can you do with your tax system, review your tax system to be able to stimulate the necessary growth in the private sector? I think that our tax system, in my concluding remarks, is that needs to be overhauled. It requires serious overhaul. Most of the tax handles have to be removed. Tax cuts in economics have shown that there is strong compliance when taxes are relatively lower than when they are higher. Our current tax levels are high, and we need to look at it. It makes it's so unbearable for the ordinary consumer, and we need to look at it clearly.
All right, thank you, Madam.
Thank you. So I think I would want to reiterate the points that I made earlier, which was about the need for better and then greater collaboration, right? Because as Oxfam, we work with a number of different organizations, and one of the things that keeps coming across, so with women, with young people, with people in, should I say, rural communities, those affected by mining and others, that you find out that there's always that need for that kind of greater collaboration, so that as citizens we are also able to participate, right, have our voices heard. Very happy about some of the things that are happening, but just as John has already mentioned, there's a need to collaborate further, plug the loopholes within the system, so we are moving together, and then of course also reiterating the need for the media to yes to continue to enhance all of these voices, so we can make greater progress as a nation.
All right, thank you. Madam Emilia, today we worried you, but we love you.
Yes. We are all expected to pay our part. 1 cedi. Your 1 cedi together with mine makes 2. Our country is going through a lot of crisis, and we believe it's only taxes that will save us. Yeah. We don't have anywhere to fall on. Yes, we are hoping that we'll get to that point where Ghana will live without aid, you know. But it all comes for us. We believe that the private sector must be supported. Our tax handles must be looked at. We appreciate your concerns. We also have taken notes. I believe my superiors and the tax policy unit is also listening to us. As a country, we have gone this far with taxes. And if we have to move beyond now, it is also taxes. We also entreat that as we move along, we have to also engage with them more. We need to educate our taxpayers. We need to educate the populace so that they appreciate what we do. Okay. And as a nation, everything we see around, services that are provided that are not as we expect, if we want to do it better, we want to get it done better, we have to be ready to pay a lot more. The tax handles that we have talked about, we've also taken notes. We'll communicate to our superiors when we go back. So we hope to see that Ghana will improve, tax collection will be easier, there will not be any harassment, and we will be your friends.
All right.
So we are always there for you. Thank you
very much. You have the floor.
Okay, so I will start from tax exemptions. So earlier this year, the Tax Justice Coalition had a meeting, and we had prominent people from GRE being part of that conversation, and GIPC. And one of the key things that we spoke about, or one of the key findings, was that we should have a list where all the exemptions that we are giving out to organizations or businesses, it should be published. And we want to see, because it's part of the whole democratic dispensation, and also it promotes transparency and, of course, accountability. So that is one of the things we are looking at. And secondly, tax shouldn't be a myth. Tax shouldn't be for just a select group of people. Tax should be something that we all have to understand. Tax should be something that should be embedded in us from childhood. So from primary school to the university and then coming into the real world, tax should be something that we should all be able to understand. And I shouldn't have to go to someone to refer me to another person before my tax can be calculated for me. It should be something that I should know about. If there are waivers that I can benefit from, whilst I am there, they're supposed to let me know that you even qualify for this, you qualify for that, you qualify for that, apply for them as well. So I think that is it. And I was so happy when I saw all these beautiful youth, my category of people before reading that youth. And my organization budget, we are having the Youth Participatory Forum where we give opportunity for the youth to be able to speak about their issues and even on matters about tax and even budget issues. So we are launching it at the University of Ghana, K. Folsom Auditorium on the 26th of March. Just this coming Tuesday, and I'll be really happy to have some of you represent
So you speak to their boss now. They are eating it to Jeffrey's time. Jeffrey
Yeah,
has spoken
a lot. A quick one about the issue of corruption. I think that's why we actually digitalize the platforms. This is actually to reduce the human interface, and then also ensure that there should also, within the GRA space, they should have a resetting of officers. One officer staying at one place for long, you know, when the person stays for long, you know what can happen, the magic can happen. There's also the availability of the whistleblowers, this thing that the GRA has. If you go and blow, if you see anything, if you see something, they say what? Say something. So when you go and blow the whistle, they have a reward for you. You have to also explore that one. Now the punitive measures. You see, elsewhere, you evade the tax of 1,000 Ghana cedis, you pay 10,000. Yeah. And that's one other punitive measure, you know. Now simplifying the payment systems for people to understand. That's where the arrows will play a very major role. But as we go forward, we need to also create the systems to be very, very self-explanatory so that we can also have them to run on their own. Now the issue of the GRA, they should also consider actually with the construction, the arena, they should also consider ensuring that they have the bodies, the unions, to come in to assist. You know, those unions know their members. They can provide data on them and then they can work. There's also the issue of interagency collaboration, which she mentioned. They should really enforce it. In Ghana, it is magic that when it comes to census, they count to everybody. We know where to find the people and count them. When it comes to issue of going to collect property rate and rent taxes, then there's a problem. Magical. Finally, I would like to say, like I said, there are things we need to consider. So on 27th March, we are all going to meet at the tax forum. Let's have a discussion, the National Tax Forum, and have a discussion. Some of the things we cannot run away from, I'm coming to mention them. As a country, let's cut down expenditure. One, you cannot spend more when you don't have it. That is one of our biggest problems as a country. Two, properly target the debt. You can go and take the debt, but properly target it to areas that there will be returns. You don't go and collect the money and come and put Soglami there to come and build up debts for us. Two, cut down on corruption. It doesn't lie in my mouth. The Auditor General's own report, after they didn't have vehicles, after they didn't have the capacity of staff, after all the challenges, the little they collect information for you, go and look into it when they go and face the Public Accounts Committee. Now, my question around that one, we don't want to hear the amounts that have been stolen. We want to hear how they are recouping the money. Follow for 5 years running. People go there and cry. The tears won't bring me my money. Recoup the money. The man who is crying over there, who stole our money, he has houses. When it comes to the white-collar jobs, they say what? Corruption. It is the embezzlement. What? It is stealing. It is free. You gave me my word, I use every day. That is stealing. And then finally, let's look at the final one. I look at the need for economic nationalism. We need to industrialize this country. We have it. This is a country that if I were God, I would be angry. I won't give you anything again. I gave you gold, I gave you bauxite, I gave you salt, I gave you timber, I gave you rubber. In recent times, when we wanted to go for clean energy, I gave you lithium. What didn't I give you, Ghana? No. I gave you arable lands. I gave you everything. This is the most pampered country in the world. And I'll finally tell you, Ghana is not a poor country. We are only a poorly managed country. We are not a poor country. You can't have all these things and say you are poor. While discussing and growing, may the good Lord bless our homeland, Ghana. Thank
you. You have to run for office.
You see? I can't be a president of Ghana.
Why not?
You know why? Because even when I nominate my ministers, you sign on a letter.
Yeah.
Your resignation letter. You write a resignation letter and you sign it for me as a minister. So the day I'm sacking you, I only have to put the date on it.
But your party people will not allow you to sack them.
You know what? I can never even dream of a 2-term. I can only be president for 1 year or 1 term.
We're okay with that.
Because you know what?
We'll try you.
My own mother will have to agree that it is not me running the presidency. It's the constitution of Ghana. So if you are my friend and you steal, you will be jailed and I'll be the first person to visit you in Sawam. I'll give you food. I'll be there on compassion. But the truth is that we speak to the laws.
Okay.
Ghana must
yeah,
go.
I have to end it here. We'll have that discussion, your nationalism thing, another time.
If you love Ghana, go and look at the poor guys who are holding the flags. I saw a picture of a guy holding his chest and lifting up the Ghana flag. Anytime I see it in my room, I go like, where are they? They are still around. Somebody is in this country. They are paid 500 Ghana cedis a month.
I have to go. Thank you.
You are aware?
No, I have to go.
After 500
We'll
cedis
have
a month,
this discussion
they
another
are even
time.
loving Ghana.
But thank you so much. Thank you so much. That is Jeffrey Okanse. He's with Revenue Mobilization Africa. We also have Jennifer Moffat, acting country lead, head of programs for Budget Ghana. We also had Madam Emilia Assam, who's Assistant Commissioner for the Ghana Revenue Authority. And then we had Dr. Angela Zumalu, Fiscal Policy Advisor for Oxfam in Ghana. And then, of course, John Awuni, Executive Chairman for the Food and Beverages Association of Ghana, FABAG. In the studio as well, we have students from the Ghana Communication Technology University. Most of the students we have here are studying accounting, microeconomics and taxation. My name is Vivian Kailoko. I'm bringing you the Oxfam Tax Dialogue. We looked at whether Ghana's tax regime is fit for purpose. Now, this program was made possible by a huge backroom people who made production possible for us to bring it to you live on your studio from Tesano. Bernard Avle, my producer, Richard Mensah, my producer, Neil Latte, my producer, and also our studio manager, Jimmy Quist and Evans, and the camera crew all made it possible. Our captain for the ship who ensured that the ship sailed nicely was Victoria, who was our director, and the many good, lovely men and women who helped it as well to make this possible, including the programs department and the news team. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Vivian Kailoko. Goodbye.